What's up, everyone? I'm Sav Jurassic. This is my first time ever making a video where I'm just kind of talking. Period. I've never done this, so forgive if it's like a little unorganized. But I have a lot of thoughts on this new gen of My Little Pony. You know, I have my fair share of criticisms, but I'm not here to dog on this new style and new idea. I'm honestly wonderfully excited. I think it looks fantastic. Got a little speed paint in the background, drawing the ponies, at least Twilight Sparkle, maybe some of the others, we'll see. But because I just love drawing beautiful sparkly pony hair, so really want to focus on that, looking at this new style, because the sparkly beautiful pony hair is really in the spotlight, and I'm excited about it. So yeah, we're just gonna take a deep dive into like all the little details that I'm noticing and what I think, maybe they mean, or like where the inspiration comes from, or just looking at what they look like. I think it's exciting, and you can pull a lot from just the one to two images that we got. First of all, I think the most noticeable change is the hair. Fluttershy got some new teal highlights. I'm personally really excited about it because I always love that Fluttershy's secondary color is teal because I love teal. And she's got herself some curtain bangs. Lovely stuff. I think that this, I saw some people being a little upset about the hair change for her. But I do think from a logistics standpoint, her G4 hair was probably tough to animate because it basically covered one half of her face. I think they probably had to defy the real laws of physics for a lot of her shots and just decide what side of her head her hair was going to be on, even if, I don't think that she had a definitive side that her hair was on unless they really wanted her to be, like, shrouded behind it for a shot. So I think that giving her a new hairstyle that doesn't cover, like, her face completely from one side is a good choice. We obviously don't know how this is going to be animated yet. I have my theories, which I'll talk about a little later. But continuing on, Twilight's hair, she's got herself a blue streak, which I initially was a little like, yeah, alright. I tend to prefer gold accents for Twilight. I think that they make her feel very regal and all that, but my mind was pretty much immediately changed because somebody on Twitter pointed out that she looks just like G3 Twilight Twinkle, who had blue highlights in her hair like this. And so I think that that's great. I think they're pulling a lot more from G3 for this style, which is exciting. They feel very much like, we'll get into it. I'll talk a little bit about G3 toys and how these feel kind of similar in a way, but we're really leaning into the, these are magic sparkle glitter ponies. We're rainbow, we're sparkly, we have long beautiful hair, like, and that excites me. I think, kind of going on a tangent, I think a lot of pony fans find themselves upset about new gen stuff, because I guess, in the nicest way possible, bronies kind of feel like everything belongs to them and everything's about them, and, they want Hasbro to cater to the sort of adult audience more, and, like, that's cool, and they definitely, need to take into account that there are adult fans that are looking at this stuff and excited for it. However, at the core of My Little Pony, the goal is to sell toys, right? So I think that going in this direction, if they want to actually spend the time making really high quality toys like they used to, even like before G4, I love the G4 toys, that's what I grew up with, but G3 quality is just undeniably fantastic. I don't think we'll ever get to that level of quality, but that's a side tangent for later, maybe. But I'm really noticing a lot of things that are reminiscent of G3. Moving on to Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie, pretty standard stuff for Pinkie. She gets some blue highlights. cool stuff. I honestly don't have too much to say about this one, because it just kind of makes sense. I'm definitely, like, I love when we get extra fun hair. And her hair is, this illustration is absolutely stunning. Her tail goes, like, all the way back. And it just, the curls are beautiful. Almost like frosting swirls, for sure, is what they're reminding me of, the way that her hair is laying. It is absolutely beautiful. Like, wow. I cannot remember off the top of my head the name of the artist that did these pieces, but absolutely blew it out of the water. Her hair is stunning. And Rainbow Dash as well, moving on to her. Great new hairstyle, looking as lesbian as ever. I think that it's awesome. And I am curious, I'm above all, I'm curious how these are going to be animated. My theory is that they're going to be vector animated, like sort of moho animation style, where maybe they'll have some textured brushes, because this is very heavily textured. It's very possible that these are just splash illustrations, so maybe this is like the box art, like, you know, so like how Monster High will have their really beautiful fancy box art, and not that the show doesn't look like, you know, great. I think it looks great too, but obviously the animation style is very different from the illustration style that is put onto the box art for toys. So I don't know. These hairstyles, Rainbow Dash's in particular, is quite complex. So I don't know. I also can't. It seems like she's got sort of a mullet situation going on, actually. Now that I'm looking at it here, that's totally what it is, because I thought initially that it was sort of a Scootaloo type of, like, pixie cut, but looking at it, it kind of goes back behind her. So I think Rainbow Dash has some mullet action happening. Or her tail is just wrapping around a little bit. I can't quite tell. Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think that maybe she does have longer hair in the back, which would be awesome. Yeah, no, she totally does. Wait. Guys, Rainbow Dash has a mullet. This is, oh my god, that's awesome. I hadn't even noticed that until looking at it really hard just now. That's awesome. Yay! Anyway, moving on to just a little bit down her face, right? First of all, the little rainbow eyeshadow. Okay, alright. They all have sort of this ombre... Well, no, they don't all have it. Twilight has sort of a blue-yellow gradient eyeshadow. Fluttershy has some teal and pink and maybe more behind her other eye. Rainbow Dash has a very rainbow eyeshadow. Pinkie Pie has a much lighter, just pink, just plain pink. I think it's a really great choice. They look beautiful. I just hope to God that they make some gorgeous toys out of these, because these designs are absolutely stunning. Also noticing that they all have different eyebrow shapes. They have, and most importantly, different eyelash shapes. Anyone who knows my work, you know, I love to give every pony different sort of eyelashes, and you know, Rainbow Dash has these really thick, you know, she's put on a lot of mascara, but you know, her eyelash shape is imitating the lightning bolt there. Fluttershy has these very long, wispy eyelashes, which are gorgeous. Twilight also has put on quite a bit of mascara. Looks great. Just sort of exaggerating the shapes that she had in her original design. And Pinkie Pie has some wonderful, wonderful, bubbly, feathery eyelashes. These are the kind that I give her typically when I draw her, so Hasbro, you copied me. No, I'm not the only one ever who has done this, but it's great to see that they are doing that, because I think it's a great design choice. Also, Twilight has some very square eyes. You know, they all have very different eye shapes, which I think is exciting to see. I mean, G4, obviously, they had different eye shapes, but part of the success, but also what held G4 back a little bit, is the fact that the ponies were so, like, modular, right? They all use the same base, you know, they all have, there's only a couple different eye styles, you know. One, I think that allowed for the fan base to really run wild and have a lot of freedom when it comes to making their own content. I think that I think that the style of G4 being so modular is part of the success. I really do. But at the same time, I really love that in later seasons of G4 My Little Pony, they started to push what these shapes could be and really add some more body shapes and eye shapes and all that in. So I'm hoping that we get a fair amount of variety with this. Like, I want some more variety, and this is a great start with them all having very different eyes. Also, looking at the eyes, they are mostly like a black base, right? But then they have this gradient that is the normal color of their eyes, and a bunch of fun little details in their eyes, which I am in love with. I absolutely love all the little glitter sparkles. I just think that these eye styles look fantastic. And Pinkie and Twilight, and, well, actually they all have them. Twilight has some pink, blue, yellow sparkles underneath her eye. I think that's adorable. Pinkie Pie has some sprinkles and hearts. Fluttershy, it's very faint, but she has some white, like freckles happening, which I think is adorable. Maybe leaning into the kind of deer vibe a little bit. I don't know, maybe. And then Rainbow Dash gets her little lightning bolt under her eye, which I love. This kind of ties into G3, but also G4. G4 had a fair amount of, like the rainbow-fied gimmicks and stuff where their cutie marks would appear all over their bodies. But G3 has so many toys where this happens, and like some of them just are like that, where their cutie mark will kind of go throughout their body. So this is a big part of the designs that I noticed that is particularly interesting and special, is that like on their hooves they all have a little white gradient going up with their cutie mark designs, which I absolutely love and is so reminiscent of just G3 toys. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Could not be more excited about that. And they all have it, which is exciting. And I initially thought like it's a little hard to differentiate because this image is so sparkly and detailed, but it's very clear based on the fact that they're shaded and they're very much wrapped around their legs that they are a part of the designs. Like, these are on their body. I think the one thing that's confusing me here with Twilight is it looks like she has a little cutie mark thing on her shoulder. I don't think she does. I think that that's added. It's been pointed out by a million people on Twitter too that Twilight's cutie mark no longer has 6 stars around the main star. It has 3. Very controversial. I don't have much to say about it. Interesting to look at. I think what's interesting to me is that both versions of the image we got, Fluttershy's cutie mark appears to be white butterflies. Whether her cutie mark is actually white butterflies, or if they're kind of shrouding it for a reason, maybe they're changing her cutie mark, or maybe it's white butterflies. I'm cool with either one, to be honest. There's definitely something different happening. Same for Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie has heart-shaped balloons, which I think is adorable. I love it. No complaints there at all. Didn't even mention earlier when I talked about Pinkie's hair that her hair curls so beautifully like confetti. Oh my gosh, so good. Just fantastic, this illustration is. And in the second version of the illustration, Twilight has these stunning little curls on the end of her hair. I'm just like pretty blown away by these illustrations. They're absolutely beautiful. But yeah, moving on to another big thing is this hoof action, right? These really remind me of it was like Camp Cutie Mark or something, the scrapped, I don't know if it was going to be G6 or if it's like a G5.5, I don't know. There was a scrap project that had, I think, Twilight, Pinkie, Rainbow Dash, Misty, and Sunny, or was it Izzy? I don't know. There was a scrap thing, and they had hooves that were similar to this, but these in particular are, like, they have these sharp parts in the front, right? They go against the typical when people will give ponies, like, extra hoof, like, real hoofs underneath their, like, fur. They go the opposite direction, right? And they end in a way that is telling me that these are, like, horseshoes. I think that these are shoes. which I love. Like, they don't, to me, the way that they sort of flatten at the bottom after the front, I think they're shoes. I think they are horseshoes. Lauren Faust has been reposting, or just posting, period, a lot of her original concepts for G4, and kind of talking about it a little bit, and she mentioned in Applejack's that Applejack was meant to represent sort of the more Western, equestrian, stuff, in comparison to a lot of the more, like, English riding gear and stuff that was, going to be used, and you get a little bit of that in early seasons of G4, where, like, Rarity makes a lot of fancy, horse dressage. Faust did mention that, like, a lot of the literal horse, gear stuff didn't quite make it in as much as, like, was originally planned. I would love if they take this a little more literal with the horse stuff, and doing these really fun horseshoes is a great way to start there, I think, if I'm right about this, which I think I am. They really look like horseshoes to me. And it would be so fun for toys if they have, like, actual little shoes that they can put on and off. Oh my god. That would be so cute. I would love that, personally. I also want to look at Twilight's horn, because it's huge. It's a lot bigger than the horns in G4 were, which I have no complaints about, once again. Like, I just think it's an interesting design choice. It's a lot farther up on her head, and it is ginormous. Yeah, it just is. It's there. It's big. You got, like, a white gradient happening. I think it looks great. She looks very, very much Magic Unicorn. Happy to see it. I think they do feel a little bit more horsey than G4 did, which G4 and G5, frankly. I think, after G3, we sort of the transition between, like, G3.5 to G4 to G5, we sort of lost the hoarseness a little bit. And once again, like, this is not a criticism fully. I love every generation of My Little Pony very deeply. I said on my Instagram story the other day that I find myself being so frustrated by pony discourse, period, which, like, of course it's gonna be there, and I accept that, but it's very hard for me to have negative emotions about ponies because they just are so delightful, and they are such a positive force in my life. Really, like, over the moon with these designs. The more I look at them, the more excited I get. I think when they first leaked, I did see them, and I was like, I don't want to get too excited because, for all I know, this could be completely fake, and then it wasn't, and now I feel like I'm actually taking it in, and they just look fantastic. They really do. I guess I can talk about the elephant in the room a little bit, which is the fact that Applejack and Rarity are gone, which has been, holy moly, a big deal. And I think that, one, this is a new gen, so things are gonna change. But two, I think people are jumping the gun on the idea that they're gone. I very highly doubt that they're gone. Maybe they'll take the form of a very different character. Maybe they'll look different. Maybe they'll look closer to, G3 Rarity and Applejack. Personally, I would love that. That would be awesome because I love those designs both so much. Like, love them. G3 Applejack, I own her. I own a Rarity too. I own the extra long hair one. But G3 Applejack is literally one of my prized possessions. I love her so much. So I would love if they go in that direction. But it's also like, when the massive leak came out years ago, when they were first working on the idea for G5, and it was sort of the idea was that it was going to be a reboot, and they had that massive design sheet. I remember in those emails, which, like, not condoning reading leak content, I was like 14 at the time, so I was looking, and I remember, because it was a big deal to me. I remember that the idea that Applejack was going to be sort of like a city girl, like, baddie, and she would sort of have to be reformed a little bit. Very possible that they're taking that route. Maybe they're setting up a Nightmarity plot, which would be amazing. I would love it. But it could be interesting if, both of the two, Rarity owns the boutique and Applejack runs the farm. Maybe they're, reoccurring side characters that, when the characters visit the farm, they hang out with Applejack, and Applejack plays roles in certain episodes. And then, same thing with Rarity. Maybe Rarity is, she makes the outfits for everyone, and they go hang out with her sometimes in town. But to me, noticeably, these 4 ponies that we do have are the ponies that are not from Ponyville. So, whereas Rarity and Applejack are from Ponyville. So maybe they're all moving into Ponyville, and they will meet Applejack and Rarity there. But I think because these episodes, right, are going to be, like they said in the drop, they're going to be on YouTube, and they're going to be 9-minute episodes. I think it's fair to have a bit of fear there that it's going to just be pony life too. And it might be, it might be. But I do think that, I'm keeping in mind Adventure Time is, I think, 10-minute episodes. And these pony ones are going to be 9-minute episodes. But Adventure Time is literally one of the best shows ever. When I'm watching those, I don't sit and think, wow, that was really short. Because there's just so much happening within the episode. So it's definitely possible to make a good show with 9-minute episodes. I guarantee you a lot of this is happening because the higher ups, are we want a short YouTube series. Because that's what they've been going for with, I think is it Tell Your Tale or is it Make Your Mark? I don't even know. The YouTube series that they do for G5 that they abruptly ended. Which I haven't watched, which I'd like to give it a chance. I've just been busy, so I haven't watched that. But I'm going on a tangent here. I think that quite possibly they wanted to shrink the cast, at least initially, because 9-minute episodes, that's short, and building compelling characters within even, having 6 main characters within 20-minute episodes, to build all of them really convincingly is a difficult task, right? And so we're shrinking it even smaller of a time frame. I think that starting out with 4 main characters is a lot more manageable to flesh them out over time than doing 6, right? So maybe what they're doing here is they're starting with the 4, and they'll build them up a little bit, and then over time, as it goes on, we'll introduce more characters. Maybe they'll be Rarity and Applejack, maybe they'll be somebody different, right? They did this in G4 with things like Starlight Glimmer and Sunset Shimmer and probably, even Trixie, right? She became sort of a side Discord. They had their own thing going on as, sort of semi-main characters for a while. So, this isn't an unfamiliar concept to My Little Pony. I think that a lot of people, when they are criticizing new content or just, animation in general, I think a lot of people don't know how the production process works, right? They are given very, very strict guidelines. And actually, the artist who did a lot of the G5 stuff actually talks about this. The fact that they are given massive, massive constraints, right? You have to work within what the executives want. And, and it's tough. That's hard to do. I think, though, that boundaries can really breed innovation. My Little Pony G4 is a great example of this, and so many, TV shows bringing up Adventure Time again, but, for example, right, with, humor, when you're making a children's show, you are very limited in the humor that you can do because it has to be appropriate for children. But that also means that to make a show really funny for adults, really innovate what the jokes are. And, maybe you end up with very physical humor, or you end up with just, I don't know. There is a level where the constraints force you to think very outside of what you would typically want to do. And you might just come up with something that's absolutely fantastic accidentally, because of the constraints, I guess is what I'm saying. And so I hope that they are able to do that with this series, because it's hard to make a show, no matter how much, constraints you have. And I will say, it being on YouTube is interesting. I think that there's a lot less constraints on there than, like, cable TV, right? I mean, My Little Pony, along with many, many, many shows like Steven Universe, right, would get localized in every country. And I'm maybe this does happen on YouTube too, but, like, doing it on YouTube really allows for a lot less, like, specifics. I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens. Maybe it will just be another, Pony Life thing, but I think it's got a chance to be something really special. And looking at these designs, and I mean, just they're stunning. They really look fantastic. And I have hope for what it can be. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy to have more pony content. I hope that this means that I get to have brand new toys of my favorites, and that they're gorgeous toys. I'm happy with whatever. If you personally find yourself not excited, that's cool too, If you want Friendship is Magic, go watch Friendship is Magic. Even then, there's a new comic series that's coming out that is Friendship is Magic characters, that did absolutely fantastic. Andy Price is working on, and I think a lot of other previous comic artists as well that have worked on My Little Pony will be working on it as well. So, like, there's not a lack of new G4 content. China's having their, like, 2014 levels of pony fandom happening right now, and I think that that's partially why they want to do, I don't want to say a reboot. I mean, every generation of My Little Pony is a reboot, keep in mind. So, I don't know. It's got a lot of potential. We don't know a lot of information about it. If people want it, I would be absolutely happy to sit down and go through the entire, like, panel interview. I'd give my thoughts on everything there, because I haven't quite sat down and read through all of it, in its entirety. I was just kind of keeping up with it as it was coming out. So I want to do more stuff like this, because I have a lot to say about a lot of things. I have a lot of, like, art tip videos that I want to do, a lot. So if you have ideas for something that you'd want me to talk about and draw, I'd love to do more speed paints where I talk over them. I can talk specifically about the speed paints, which I haven't really done at all. I'm sure maybe you noticed in the speed paint I went through a few different things, just because I've been working full time, and it's sort of put me into a little bit of an art block, but I got there with with the drawing. But yeah, I want to do more like this. So please comment, if you have something that you'd be interested to hear me talk about, or something you'd love to see me draw, or just, like, general art advice. I want to talk about toys. I have a lot of thoughts about toys, both, like, art toys as a collector, and, like, the current state of the toy industry, and as somebody that's been collecting since I was a kid, does it count as collecting when you're a kid? I don't know. But talk to me about this new G6. What do you think's gonna happen? What do you want for this series? What do you want for the toys that will release? I'm curious. Thank you very much for watching, and perhaps I will see you again soon.